Hey everyone, and welcome to episode 22 of Ionan's Edge. In this special episode, I'm going to be doing an overview review on my WorkSharp Precision Adjust Elite Sharpener. Let's jump right in with some basic specifications. So, this sharpener from WorkSharp is one of their more higher end sharpeners, and it comes in four basic parts. You've got the base, you've got the actual body of the sharpener, you've got the knife clamp and arm, and then you've got your rods with your sharpening media on them. So also, while I've got this up here, you can see that this will do sharpening edges between 15 and 30 degrees. So really fine edges that you'd put on a knife, say like this Kershaw Leek, it'll sharpen knives, tiny knives like this, down around the 15 or say 17 degree range. And then also it'll do a lot of other angles, but I've actually sharpened knives like this Henkel's kitchen knife that we use all the time for prepping food here at the house. This also gets sharpened on this. I would say this is about the top end of the kind of range of knives that you can sharpen effectively on this. Anything bigger than this, I would stay away from. But that's a pretty good range of knives. So to use this, all you're going to do very simply is you're going to snap the base in place. You're going to take your clamp arm, which is magnetic, slides into a slot that goes like that. And then you've got your rod, your fourth part, your rod here with your media. Now the standard edition of this sharpener comes with one media rod, and you get two different grits plus your ceramic. So that's it. If you buy the base unit Precision Adjust, you're going to get this, what you see right here in this photo. It's going to just come in a plain box, and this is what you're going to get. And this is sufficient for sharpening almost all the knives that you have. I just happen to have the Elite version, and I'll talk about the differences between the two near the end of the video. So to sharpen a knife, basically, all you're going to do is you're going to take this off. It has some little rubber padded jaws here. And you're going to take your knife, and I'm going to use, once again, an old kitchen knife because all my good knives are sharpened. And what they want you to do with this is they want you to basically line up the main part of the cutting edge with the edge of the sharpener. So it's going to look something like that. That's really kind of what you're going for there. You're trying to get that to line up. So straight across here and kind of straight across there. And then you're going to close this thing up. Get it pretty tight. That's what holds the knife in place. Okay. And then you're going to make sure that the white dash is up here. That allows you to rotate the knife. And you're just going to take this, slide it in there. It's magnetic. It holds it in place. We'll talk about that a little bit later at the end of the video. And then you're going to set your angle. So to set your angle, all you're going to do is you're going to take this thumb screw at the top and you're going to turn it. If you turn it in one direction, it's going to raise your angle. Like say you want to sharpen at 20 degrees. But if you want to sharpen, say, between 17 and 18 degrees, then you're going to bring that angle down into this area here. You can use the Sharpie method to figure out along the blade what angle you should be sharpening at if you want to keep the factory angle. Or you can just go with a set angle that's on the actual machine and say, I'm just going to do 20 degrees and that's going to be my set angle. So then you're going to take the rod. It has a pivot or Heim joint style connector up here, and it's magnetic. So you're just going to take it, stick it up in there like that. And then the grit is choosable. There are 3 different ones. They snap into place. So you're going to start with the lowest one here. We're going to start with the 600 grit. And we're just going to place that down here against the blade like this. And then just like in my earlier sharpening videos, what we want to do here is we want to feel with light pressure. We want to feel what the grit is doing or media is doing. And then we want to listen for a change in sound, right? So you shouldn't have to press on this. It shouldn't be necessary to push down with a lot of force. You're just going to let your hand rest on there, let the grit rest on there. And you're basically going to, I like to hold the sharpener right here. This is a good position for me. Some people hold it around the base. But basically what you're going to do is you're just going to go in a back and forth motion like this. And you're going to do that a couple of times with this grit until you don't feel any more drag. That feels pretty good. So now I've done 3 passes with that grit on this side. I'm going to press a little button on the back of here, and now the knife is going to get flipped over into 180 degrees into the position for me to sharpen the blade on the other side. And then I'm just going to repeat the same procedure. I'm going to hold it, light pressure. One more time. And that is pretty much going to do it for that grit. Then you're just going to move up to the next grit in line, which is going to be the 800. And you're going to do the same thing. You can flip this back over and start back on the other side if you feel more comfortable doing that. Sometimes I will, just so I don't lose track. And then you're going to do the same procedure here. You're just basically going to draw the 800, which is a little finer across here. As you can see, I don't need to worry about holding the angle. All I'm doing is moving the grit back and forth across the edge of the blade to create that sharpening motion. I'm letting the grit do the work. The media is doing the work. That's it. Move this out of the way, flip this over. I'm going to go ahead and start on the other side. And then that's pretty much it. I can already feel after just a few passes that that next higher stone is smoothed out a lot. So then on the basic version of this, they give you the ceramic. You're going to basically switch to that, and you're going to do a couple passes. This is more of a polishing and finishing stone, but you're just going to do a couple passes on this. And then with this, what I like to do, and this is something I learned off of the Work Sharp channel, is what they like to do is they like to pull this down and across like this in a sweeping motion. And what that does is it just kind of helps polish off the blade, polish off the last of those little fine remnants that are on here. And then you can flip this over. And then do your sweeping motion. And for most sharpening, that's going to be it. That's really all you're going to need to do. Now, because this is the precision version, you get a couple of extra attachments for this. And one of those attachments that you get is you get a strop attachment. This one has green polish on it, stropping polish, and it goes, just snaps right back in. You're not changing any of the angles. You're not doing anything here to create a single bevel edge. And you're just going to basically take the strop, and now you're just going to make sure that you just pull down. You just pull straight down with the strop and go like this. And what that's going to do is that's just going to polish the cutting edge of your knife. So if you want to get that really super nice mirrored finish, that's what this is going to do. You do a couple this way, you flip the knife over, You do a couple in the other direction. And you'll see the strop is getting a little darker there, and that's just because it's actually polishing and taking off some metal. And then once you've done that, for most of your knife sharpening, that's pretty much the end of this process. I'm going to flip the knife back over. I'm going to pull this off. I'm going to go ahead and take this out of the jaws. And that's it. I went from a completely dull knife to a very sharp knife in just a few minutes. And again, it's pretty foolproof. You don't have to hold your wrist in a certain angle, worry about the pressure too much. You just let the stones do the work. Listen, you can tell when they're kind of done doing their, removing the metal for each grit. And it creates a really nice, evenly sharpened blade. You're going to get the same angle on both sides if you do the same strokes with roughly the same pressure. You're not going to have a blade that's crooked or off center as far as the way it's sharpened, and it's easy and simple. So let's also talk about some of the cons or issues. So some users don't like the flex that comes in the unit. I've heard people talk about the flex here in the base station where it clamps together. So I don't have an issue with that particular flex, and here's why. Because no matter what angle you choose, if this moves a little bit back and forth, this angle is still not changing. So the little bit of flex that happens here from the fitment of the base to the actual body of the unit is not an issue. What is an issue is there's flex. People talk about flex here in this. And if you see this, it does move a little bit. Now, when it's actually got a knife clamped in it, it's less obvious, but it does have maybe just the slightest little bit of flex in it. And where this comes into play is when you have heavier knives in here, when you put a bigger knife in and you're out a little further from the center, then not only does the base want to rock, again, that's not an issue. That doesn't change your sharpening angle. If this base moves like this, your sharpening angle, as long as the knife is secure in here, stays the same. But if this flexes a little bit from side to side or top to bottom because it's all plastic, there is a potential for the sharpening angle to change slightly. Now, that's still way more precise than you doing it by hand, but I understand where people are coming from. So I will admit that that is a quirk or a flaw in this system. So what they do make is they make a small piece that you put under here that's adjustable, and it's a brace, and it just kind of slides in, and you get it adjusted so that it just slides underneath and it keeps this from moving. And what that does is it stiffens up the entire assembly. Those are about $12 to $15. I will put a link in the description. They're available on Etsy, along with lots of other accessories for this sharpener. So that is probably the only real weakness that this thing has. I have one other small thing. I wish they had designed the base differently. I wish they had designed this with some kind of a set screw in it in the back here, or something that maybe had a set screw from here into the base. Because in order to put this thing away, whether it's in a box or whether it's in the case, the WorkSharp case that this Elite version comes in, you have to break this whole thing down. You have to snap the base off, you have to disassemble it. And every time you do that, it's kind of a pain in the butt because you have to kind of yank it off of here. But at the same time, this is a great unit for what it is. And it simplifies sharpening. It lets you get professional quality edges and professional quality finishes. And it takes all the guesswork out of sharpening your knife. So what is the difference between the basic unit and the Elite? Well, I already mentioned that when you buy the basic unit, which is $50, by the way. So if you go on Amazon, again, I will put links for all this. The base unit is $50. You get what you see here. You get this, and you get this single tri-grit rod, which comes with a medium coarse, a finer grit, and then a ceramic for finishing. When you buy the Elite, you also get this cool carrying case that everything there fits inside of perfectly. It's all molded out to hold all the pieces. And you get 2 extra rods on here as well as the holder. You're going to get the holder, which these pieces snap into. You're going to get coarser grits. So you're going to get one that has it has 220, 320, and 400 on it. So I only use this one really when I have a knife that's in really bad shape and needs a lot of work. I'll go down and start out with like the 220 and take off a good amount of material, and then the 320 and then the 400, just to get the blade kind of back in shape. And then I'll move back to my normal grits. Most of the time, unless you're having to fix a knife that's in really rough shape, you're really not going to use this tri-grit here on this rod. Most of the time, you're going to be over here. You're going to be using a 600 and an 800 and a fine ceramic. And then you're going to finish up, like we did in the video, with a strop. So this comes with the Elite version as well. You get all 3 of these, like I said, and this allows you to polish and put a fine Mira finish on the edges of your blades. This setup that you see here in front of you with the 3 different types of rods, the sharpener itself, and the custom carrying case from Worksharp, this is $120. So this is everything. And there are lots of accessories. You can buy replacement grits from Worksharp. You can buy aftermarket rods that will take any size stone and let you sharpen with almost any kind of media that you like. That has become more available now that this has been out a while. And you can also buy replacement tri-grits. They're around $16 or $17, I believe, from Worksharp through their website. You can buy replacement strops, so you just peel this off. It has an adhesive. You can stick the new one on. You can also just buy the grits if you want. If you want to peel off this, say, 800 after it gets too worn out to work anymore, and then they have a new one you buy. I think they are around $8 or $9 and plus shipping, and you just peel that off and stick the new one on, and voila, you've replaced your grits. I've been using this thing for a while. I've sharpened a ton of knives on it. I haven't had to replace any grits yet. And the strop I've cleaned twice, but that is still going, and as you can see, has plenty of life left in it. So this thing will sharpen a lot of knives for a long time before it needs any kind of replacement parts. It's easy to use, it's portable. The basic version, which will suit most knife people, is $50. You can also buy the basic version, and then they make an upgrade kit where they give you the other grits, the tray, and the case, and that is $80. So you'll pay a little more if you want to buy the basic one and then buy the upgrade kit later, but they do allow you to do that, and that's a great thing that Worksharp does. Overall, this little gem of a sharpener, this is, even if you just buy the $50 version, is well worth it, folks. There are a couple little quirks, like I said. You know, they make a little stand for this if you're sharpening bigger knives, but I also feel like, you know, you shouldn't be putting a ton of pressure on there. When you put a bigger knife in there, this does tend to have a little flex, but generally speaking, I don't have a lot of flex issues with small to medium-sized and folding pocket knives. It's just when you get into really big knives that becomes an issue. It's pretty well built. It's a pretty well thought out piece, and it's drastically less than some of the bigger, more established knife sharpeners that are out there. It does all the same stuff pretty much, just at a fraction of the cost. So if you're looking for a higher end sharpener that won't break your budget, this would be a good option. The Worksharp Precision Adjust, or like I said, you could buy the version I have, which is the Precision Adjust Elite. I do definitely recommend these. Despite a few quirks, you're going to get a professional level edge on your knives without a lot of hassle. So that's all I got for today, folks. Thank you very much for watching. If you liked this video, please consider hitting that like button. Leave me a comment, ask me some questions. There are lots of little nuances to using one of these. If you get one, I'd be glad to help out with that. I love getting comments from the community. As always, if you're enjoying this channel, consider subscribing so you'll get notifications on my future videos. And folks, as always, stay sharp.